topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hi, I'm Shelby Wagner, host of Learning to Dance in the Rain. Welcome to my show. I hope you will stay with me today. I'm by myself again, but I would love to hear from you. The subject is navigating grief, and the telephone number is 561-623-9429. Again, 561-623-9429. And I'd love to have you join me at that number if you have something that you would like to share on the subject of grief. If I am going to tell you right up front, I am not a therapist. I'm an author, a talk show host, podcaster, and I was a teacher for 25 years in the elementary level up to 7th grade. And I'm continuing to educate by bringing you interesting topics of life, difficult life issues, and how I've solved some of those problems and how my guests have solved them. But today it's me. And I am having a birthday on Sunday. 5 days? I'm not looking forward to it because it'll be 83. Oh my gosh, 83. Oh my goodness, think about it. That sounds like a big word, a big number. But it goes quickly. And I think I'm an example of being resilient. I have several friends that comment about a relative that I have, who they seem to be up all the time and they're very popular, have lots of friends and so on, and they think they're perfect. No, not my friend. My other friends will talk about, oh, how perfect that couple is, as if they don't have any problems. But guess what? I know them personally because I'm related to them. And so I think they're very resilient because, yes, they do have things that bother them, just like I have things that bother me. Our troubles may be similar to everybody. I mean, we're human, right? But we get through them, we go on, and we enjoy life. I was surprised when my mother turned 80 several years ago, and I wanted, as a mom, we need to celebrate and have a party for you. And she said, "No, you won't. I won't. I don't want a party." And I said, "Well, you have lots of friends, and I'm sure they would like to get together and talk about old times and things." Nope, 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 no, I don't want a party. And I said, "Why don't you want a party?" And she says, "Because I don't want them to know how old I am." And that was kind of funny because I thought, whoa, golly, I'm sure people know how old I am. We lived here for a big part of my life. We moved into the house in Auburn Hills, Michigan, back in 1957. And I was in high school. So I thought, gee, Mom, they're going to know how old you are. Anyway, but why don't you want people to know how old you are? And she said, because they teach you like an old woman. They treat you like an old woman. They treat you differently. And so I remember that all these years since then. And I thought, well, learning to dance in the rain, here I am, Shelby Wagner, host of a podcast at 83 years old, talking about life experiences. So, navigating grief. Well, how many of you out there are trying are grieving, trying to heal? And maybe you're not trying to heal. Maybe you know that healing. I had a friend that said to me when her husband died, but Shelby, I don't want to heal. And I said, that's okay. But someday you may decide that you do want to move forward. You know, I'm not a therapist, so I'm an educator. I'm a podcaster. I've done lots of different things in my life. And sometimes I just like to talk about them. But before I get into talking too much about the grieving, I wanted to also, because I'm passionate about sharing information about scams, because was a victim, and I don't want to be a victim again. But today, just before the broadcast time, I got this email from frankonfraud.com, and he's kind of keeps me, and it made me kind of ill because I talked about pig butchering a few weeks ago and romance scams and so on, and how how young people are being drawn into that industry and enslaved and so on. And here, I don't know if you can see this, but here's an ad now. An attractive woman, sexy looking, yeah, and AI generated, and so on. And then the ad says, um, here is the bulleted ad up in that corner. Let's see, you see that corner there? Okay. They're looking for a model recruitment, good looks, between 18 and 26 years old, speak fluently, experience not limited, share daily photos, video calls, voice calls, video clips, voice messages. Can the client's name be mentioned in the video clip? The client's name can be mentioned in the video call. You can use filters to modify the picture, but make sure it doesn't look too different from a real person. Real life video, bikini personality photos, no wigs. The company keeps the passport for the Visa card and work permit management. Base salary, US dollars, $6,000. Monthly food allowance, US $300. The company provides dormitories, and there is no subsidy for living outside because we provide rooms for the company. You have to make 50 to 100 video calls a day, monthly rest day, 2 full days, and 4 half days. Ooh, did you get that? You get, in a month, you get 2 full days off and 4 half days. That comes out to be maybe how many days to see? 4 days off a month. That's 1 a week. Whew. We think that we have don't have enough time off when some of us have 2 days off a week, right? But anyway, okay, where was I? Working hours. It's in Cambodia. The hours are 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. daily working hours, 10 hours. Meal time is 10:30 p.m. to 11:10 p.m. You're working in Cambodia and POIPET, which is Middle East and Europe is your business area. Contract period is 6 months. Salary is paid on the 15th of each month, and resignation must be applied 1 month in advance. Oh my goodness. So a young person sees that and oh, wow, they'd like to make $60,000 or $72,000 a year. Wouldn't that be nice? But I'm going to tell you that is you apply for that and you're going to be enslaved. So that's the way it is. So makes me sick to think about it. I've got some questions. Oh my, Francis says, why do you think people treat older folks differently? And do you think we can teach the younger age any better? Then we go on, why do women have age issues and why does that sound like slavery? Wayne, do you think only women have age age issues? I I don't know, but I can tell you that I'm not a stereotype of an 83-year-old woman. At least I don't think I am. Yesterday, I went to the St. Patrick's Day party, and at the provided by the organization on aging, the Community of Aging, and they after the dinner, they entered the leader of the group. She got up and she introduced the band that was going to be entertaining us. And then she says, and I hope you get up here and dance because they had a really nice dance floor. And she says, I know Shelby and Rick will be up here. So there we were performing and dancing for our group. And everybody was enjoying it. But during the next hour that we had the band, how many of those people danced too? Well, my friends did. Let's see, there were there was one couple and about 4 women that got up besides Rick and I. And I had a wonderful time. And I hope they didn't think we were showing off, but we take dance lessons through the Community on Aging in Three Rivers, Michigan, which these people from that group were from that Community of Aging group in Three Rivers were also at the St. Patrick's Day party. And all of them are invited to join that. But why do women have age issues? I think everybody has age issues, Wayne. I don't know. Every once in a while, I will have a flashback to my husband passing away. And what is it now? It's been 8 years since he's been gone. And, you never, ever really get, don't forget them. And I was just looking at some of the information that I wrote down here. And I started to cry. I thought, well, okay, if I start to cry during talking about grief, well, you know why. So I don't know if I answer your question, Wayne. Don't you think men have age issues too? Or at least some of them. It bothers me only when I think about, oh boy, I'm 83. My mother died at 92. That's 11 years. My brother, 7 years younger than me, he passed away just after Christmas, about 8 weeks ago. That's not supposed to happen. It's almost like losing your own child, I was 7 years older than him, and so when we were growing up, I did a lot of babysitting. And my sister, she's 2 years younger than he is. But I have a picture of the two of them. She's sitting in a little rocking chair out in the backyard, and my brother, he was all dressed in his was it well like a cowboy. He had his cowboy hat on. He had a rifle in his holding it up, And I took a picture of him, and I was okay. There they were. He was probably my sister would have been about 2 probably because she was walking, and he would have been 4. But I would look at years as went by, and that they were my children too. Played house and all that. So yeah. So that's. I hope that answers your question a little bit. Why do you think people treat older folks differently? Well, I don't really feel that they treat me differently. I guess I don't know if that's an age problem, a generation problem, but my mother felt that way. I do know that, I can't say that I have, I don't know, other than worrying about, or not worrying about, but thinking about how much longer do I have here. uh, do you think we can teach the younger any better? Well, I don't know if you have people that act, well, let's say they act their age. How do they act their age? Well, if you look around the room of a room where people are around, 80, a lot of them, there was a one man could hardly walk. There were several women with canes. Um, I fell down last Friday coming into the house. I tripped on the step, but coming up from the garage. I felt like an old lady when I called my daughter, and she came to help me take me to the hospital because I had stitches and I hit the corner of the table. I sure felt old during that period from the time I fell, I guess. And we went to the hospital and had all of that. The nurses and that were very kind. And I don't know, I guess I just really felt my age at that time. But most of the time, I don't. I don't feel it. But, you know, uh, losing your partner, if we were married for 50 years, we were in 2 weeks going to have a 50th wedding anniversary party. Um, all of a sudden, he was gone. And I'm sure all of you out there who have suffered the same kind of loss probably felt the same way. Am I still a husband? Am I still a wife? I don't feel that anything has changed as far as being part of a couple, and yet half of me seem to be gone. Um, it says, how did I introduce myself? Well, yesterday, I was with Rick, my my boyfriend, and we were, later we were going to dance, but somewhere along the line before we started to dance, a woman says, "How long have you been married?" Well, he's my boyfriend. He's not my husband. So all this time, 6 years or 8 years since my husband died, I would go to the mall by myself and just window shop or go in and look at things and talk to people if I had a chance. I went to restaurants by myself. It was very, very hard for me to go to um, his favorite restaurant, and when the host come up and said, how many? And you say, one. Even now, 8 years later, when I go to a restaurant by myself occasionally, it feels funny. And I think about him and I miss him. And yet I have moved on. I have and met Rick, um, and we seem to be compatible despite some of our differences. But you have to, you're going to have to decide what your future is going to be. One of the things is what do you how do you think of yourself? If you think of yourself as lonely, you're going to be lonely. And somewhere along the line during my 6 months of really grieving, which, by the way, everybody needs to grieve because that's the way you heal. But where was my thought here? Um, well, lost my train of thought there. But let's see, I was talking about, talking about being lonely. Okay. Um, I read somewhere during that time that instead of thinking of yourself as being alone or lonely, why not think about yourself as being single? Do you feel any different out there about being lonely or being alone versus being single? To me, when I think about it, single. Oh, single's a little bit more positive, isn't it? Than, I'm lonely. I think I'm lonely, that makes me feel sad. But when I think of being single, wow, I can have a singles lifestyle. I can do what I want to do when I want to do it, if it's available. I wanted to go to the dancing. I wanted to learn line dancing. So I went to class at the Community on Aging. They had the line dance class. So I went there, and yes, I had a good time and started learning to dance. And that's how I got the name, learning to dance when I was grieving. And I want to say one thing about that is dance can mean a lot of things, not just the moving and the patterns and all of that, but it means doing something, a hobby, doing something you enjoy doing. So what is your dance, right? Okay, we look over here. You can be in a relationship and still feel single. Jessica? Oh boy. Yep. I suppose I can agree with that. But what kind of relationship and what kind of single? Are you are you alone? What do you do when you're alone versus what do you do when you are in with the other person that you love? That gets us into a whole another subject, I think, and I discuss love with Pastor Carl. You might want to look at one of my episodes. I believe that it was the first Tuesday in March, and we were talking about relationships. And sometimes like Rick and I are not married, so yeah, I'm saying I'm alone quite a bit, and but I'm busy. I keep busy writing and marketing my book and all that. But yes, I agree. You can be in a relationship and still feel single, but there was another thing that helped me, that it's better to be single than to be in a bad relationship. So are you having is it a bad relationship or is it a good one? Maybe you need to think about that a little bit. Back to Ralph had a question about why does that sound like slavery? Well, I just happen to know, because I'm passionate about scams, and I was a victim of a cyber scam and a romance scam. So I became an advocate against romance scams. And in this, why does that sound like slavery? It doesn't. This ad that I read is trying to entice you to come to Cambodia and make these phone calls. But I have seen pictures of it looks like a huge city of apartment buildings, which looks beautiful. Could look like Las Vegas, for example. But the reality of it when you are there is that the only door out of that building is guarded by soldiers or whatever you want to call them, and they're gated. That means people can they just go out of the building anytime they want to be? And I also know that some of the people, when they find out what it really is and refuse to make the phone calls, scamming people, that's what it's all about. They have been beaten. Why? How do I know this? Well, New York Times had several articles recently about people that have escaped from these compounds, and they're the ones that are telling the stories of what it really is like. So I brought this up because I wanted to warn you that, wow, this sounds great. Why does it sound like slavery? Maybe it doesn't sound like slavery, but I can tell you from knowledge of what's going on with the scams and so on that that people are enslaved once they get there. So back to breathing. Another problem is once you've lost. Did that husband take care of certain things, and you took care of the others? Like with my husband, his job was anything outside the house. And my job was anything inside the house. And his jobs were to fix if any of the appliances. He was a handyman and he knew how to fix most things. And of course, he did those kind of things too. So all of a sudden, he wasn't there anymore. We talked about things. If I had a bright idea, I always shared it with him. I didn't always do what he thought. In fact, he said to me once, why do you even ask me? You never take my advice anyway. And I said, well, I just want another viewpoint. And maybe that would change my mind. This is the way I'm thinking at this time. What do you think about it? So here's another place where all of a sudden that is gone and you have this empty spot. So there's financial concerns. Maybe he was the wage earner. He did things in the house around the property now. Yeah, when I have decided to move back to Michigan, because we had retired in Tennessee, and it really felt strange to buy a house all by myself when I went in to sign the papers, and I was the only one, and the couple that had owned it were sitting across from me. It just felt different. Wow. And then I had to clean the house and get it ready for me to move into. And then after I had gotten moved in and I started hanging pictures, oh my, I remember how he did it. And all of a sudden I had to do all those things by myself. I had to learn, oh my, what happens when the garbage disposal doesn't work anymore or is blocked? You don't say, hey, Bob, can you fix it? He wasn't there to fix it for me. There was several things that all of a sudden I had to learn how to do or pay somebody to do it. And so there you are. You have to learn new skills. You have to I paid the bills, so I knew about finances that way. But I know a lot of women whose husband take care of that, and they have to learn how to handle their money. If they don't, guess what? It's not going to last as long as your body lasts and you live. I can tell you, I know quite a few women my age that are struggling and with finances, with paying the bills and so on, and not just women. There's sometimes, like, I believe if I'd gone first and my husband had to suddenly pick up and pay the bills every month, he would have struggled too. So you really have to learn new skills and how to handle your daily routines alone. It all happens. And how about, did you ever feel like you were the fifth wheel or the third wheel in if you went to visit family or friends or whatever? Here, you're the odd person. Well, I had handled that by learning to dance class. I made new friends. I moved. um, you have to make a decision. You have to put yourself out there. Yeah. Do you feel like doing that? Maybe not. But at some point in your grieving period, you're going to decide that I I need to move forward. Maybe not move on, but I have to move forward. Can't stay in my house and cry all the time or or sleep all the time or whatever it is we feel like doing. And I know exercise class. I don't like exercise classes, but I love to dance. And line dance, I tell you, it really is exercising those muscles in your legs that get a little lax and they don't work properly. Now, some friendships do fade. I moved away from my home in Tennessee, so uh, I kept ties with my friends for a while. But as the time goes on and you get further and further apart, it just happens. But it's okay. I just mainly want to say that you have to let yourself grieve. And what is grief? It's different for every person. Um, Maybe if one person cries a lot all the time, and that might be what that person needs to do. You might have another one that's, they're stalwart and no, society kind of says tough it, what does it get of, can't think of the word, but um, be strong. Be strong. Someone might say to you, uh, well, at least you had a good long life. And that, yeah, that's fine, but it kind of dismisses them altogether. You don't know what to say, do you, when you go to a funeral or even afterwards? And so maybe your friends kind of pull away because they just don't know what to say. And sometimes it's not what you say, but just being there and letting the person who is grieving talk to you. Let them vent. You don't have to solve their problem because you can't solve them problem. What you say is not going to make them feel better. So why not just let them talk? Let them vent. If they are alone, they really need some talking time. And so that was a story I think I heard in a sermon not long ago where the women's church women's club were talking about, well, somebody needs to go and call on Jane. Her husband had died a few months ago, and yeah, we really, but none of the women in there volunteered to go talk to Jane. They didn't know what to say. And finally, one meek little older woman, she says, I'll go. And they all looked at her kind of strange because she was a very quiet person and quite shy. But she says, I'll go talk to Jane. Or call on Jane. So she went to visit her. And Jane invited her in and was smiling and happy to see her. And she said, would you like some tea or coffee? And she said yes. And so they went in the kitchen, and Jane says, here, let me do that. So she made the tea for her friend. And after she went home, and the next meeting, the lady said to her, well, how did your call on Jane go? And she said, oh, it went very, very well. And they said, well, what'd you talk about? Or what'd you say? And she said, I didn't say hardly anything. Well, what do you mean? I said, well, she just needed to talk to me. So she talked. And Bob, thank you very much. Sometimes you just need to sit with a person in silence. It can help. Oh boy. Sometimes that's just what you need, don't you think? I agree, Bob. That's really a good thing. Looking back up there is, why do women have age issues? But I have to think about that. Wayne, what do you okay, so I guess can't think of a real age issue at this time. If you're still there, why do you think women have age issues? Why does
So
it? Yes.
Wayne called back and he said not issues and it's a bad thing, but never want people to know about their age issues.
Oh, that one. Oh, okay. Well, I can understand that. Well, Wayne, I like to look the best I can look. I'm sure most women do. Yeah, dye my hair. It's white, really. Is that a bad thing? Is that a bad thing? Wanting to look your best. I went to an event that a friend had last Saturday, makeup event, and I didn't realize that's what it was going to be. So I was a little late. And when I walked in, and they greeted me, and I sat down and started listening and to what was going on. Well, later, after the lady got through with her presentation, she came over and gave me some papers. She said, "Wow, you have beautiful skin." And I thought, really? That made me feel good. Wouldn't it make you feel good? I'm thinking, well, I didn't think I had that good of skin, but I'm not out there looking that closely at other people. But um, that brings up a good point, though. I think, and in my new book, Finding Love Again, I have a thing about looking your best, and that reminding people that beauty is what? In the eye of the beholder. And beauty is only skin deep. So now, at our age, yeah, we can look the best we can look. And when we have a chance to have a conversation with somebody, well, we have life experiences. Don't you have them? I see underneath my name here, author. Shelby Wagner, author, yeah, author of now 3 books. First one's Learning to Dance in the Rain, and then Scams, a Resource Guide, and now Finding Love Again is in Kindle version only at this time. Okay, I'm a host to this show, and my listeners are growing, I hear. Um, I enjoy talking with the guests that I have and bringing you any information to help you with resilience, help you to bounce back from hurts, from the bad things that happen to us. So podcasts, oh boy, yeah. Apparently, as soon as I stop talking, the show is sent out to over 100 podcast stations. And the other day, I picked up my phone just to look at it, and there was my uh, logo that shows at the beginning of my book, of my show, and it was Audible, and it had a list of all my, right there. It had all a list of several of my episodes. I was so shocked. Wow. Um, so um, I just advise people to be the best they can and talk, meet people. Uh, do you ever have that feeling when you go into a crowd? Well, everybody's sitting around, maybe they're chatting a little bit here and there. And well, yesterday when I went to the party, we walked into the room and I thought we were early, and half the people were already there and they were at tables. And I thought, ooh, I didn't see one person that I knew. Thought, where are we going to sit? And so there was a table right close to me that had 2 women sitting there. And so when I said, are those 2 seats taken? And she said, no, you're welcome. And so we sat down. Well, I made, both of us, we made 2 new friends, Kathy and Arlene. And we had a very enjoyable time. But you know what? We get back what we give. And so I could have sat there and ignored them and not talked to them. And that happens. But I have found that if you start talking to them, you make them feel good, and they talk back. And pretty soon you're no longer strangers, you're friends. So you get back, what is it that saying? You get back what you give. Um, I think that's a good thing to remember. Well, it looks like my time is almost up, and I want to invite you all to come back next Tuesday. Um, I have an educator that's going to be my guest, and we're going to talk about some new teaching ways of teaching, or not teaching, but educating the kids, getting them thinking. And I'm very excited about that show. Tell your friends, and my shows are available also on YouTube at Shelby Wagner. And my website, learningtodanceintherain.com, have my episodes also. And you can listen anytime you're in the car, whatever, if you want to. Let's see. I'd like you to remember that my goal is to help develop resilience, bouncing back in a good way, solving the problem, and then going on with your life, getting back to enjoying. Life is meant to be enjoyed. That doesn't mean that you're not going to have bad times, because you do have problems. That's how we learn. Yep. But so life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. And as the Bible says, there's a time for everything under the sun. There's a time to mourn and a time to dance. And I bless you and hope that you will handle your problems and still be able to dance, whatever that dance might be. Bye now. I thank you again for being here. And I thank you for writing to me and bringing the questions. Have a good week.